Believe that rice package in your cupboard is harmless? Reconsider. A startling 2025 investigation examined 145 rice items from retailers nationwide. The findings: arsenic appeared in every single sample. 1 out of 4 surpassed the FDA's safety threshold for baby food. It deteriorates further. Cadmium was discovered in all except 1 sample. Lead and mercury were identified in over 1/3. We're not discussing negligible traces here. These are dangerous, heavy metals accumulating in your system across decades. The health consequences are catastrophic. We're discussing cancer, IQ reduction in kids, neurological damage during gestation, and the FDA has established zero limits for arsenic in standard rice. Right now, I'm revealing the 8 rice brands requiring immediate avoidance. I'll demonstrate precisely which items tested highest for contamination, and which corporations are confronting class action litigation. At the conclusion, I'll expose which rice varieties are genuinely safer, plus straightforward cooking methods that can decrease arsenic by 60%. If you consume rice frequently or serve it to children, this could be the most critical video you experience this year. Let's begin. Number 8. Trader Joe's rice. Beginning our countdown at number 8 is Trader Joe's. Correct, the cherished grocery outlet that promotes itself as a healthier substitute to conventional supermarkets. Their rice items were featured in the 2025 Healthy Babies Bright Futures investigation, examining 145 rice samples from 105 separate brands throughout America. Here's the difficult reality. Trader Joe's rice items aren't safer than competing brands. The investigators determined that brand recognition means nothing regarding arsenic contamination. What counts is the rice variety and cultivation location. Trader Joe's obtains rice from various regions, including America's South, where contamination reaches the world's highest levels. Rice cultivated in Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi holds nearly twice the arsenic of rice from California or Asia. Why? Because those southern territories previously grew cotton. For decades, agricultural producers applied 30,000 tons of arsenic-based pesticides onto those fields, controlling the boll weevil. That arsenic remained in the soil. Currently, rice paddies occupy those identical contaminated fields, absorbing poison applied over a century earlier. The tragedy involves Trader Joe's customers believing they're selecting healthier options. They trust the brand. They spend premium amounts, yet they're receiving rice with identical contamination levels as budget alternatives. Trader Joe's doesn't publicly share arsenic testing data for their rice items. They don't indicate country of origin on all containers. Consumers possess no method knowing if they're purchasing high arsenic southern rice or lower arsenic California or imported types. The takeaway? Don't trust promotion. Don't presume expensive equals safe. Always verify where your rice actually originates. Number 7. Whole Foods 365 brand. At number 7, we have Whole Foods 365 Everyday Value Rice. This one is especially alarming. Whole Foods constructed an empire on promising healthier, more natural food. Their 365 house brand positions itself as an affordable, organic alternative for health-conscious consumers, but when Consumer Reports examined rice brands, their 365 everyday value long grain brown rice scored worst of all brands examined. Let me emphasize that. The grocery retailer famous for health food had the highest arsenic concentrations of any brand in the investigation. Their brown rice tested 1/3 higher than rivals like Uncle Ben's and Great Value. It surpassed the national average for arsenic contamination. The 2025 Healthy Babies Bright Futures report verified that 365 Whole Foods Market rice items continue containing concerning concentrations of heavy metals. Their examination discovered parts per billion of arsenic in 365 brown rice, positioning it among the worst performers. That's nearly twice the FDA threshold of 100 parts per billion established for infant rice cereal. If you prepared baby food from this rice, it would be deemed too hazardous to retail in stores. Making circumstances worse, a class action lawsuit was initiated against Amazon, which possesses Whole Foods, claiming they sold rice items with dangerous concentrations of heavy metals without warning consumers. The lawsuit specifically identifies 365 Whole Foods Market brand rice. Independent examination for the lawsuit discovered inorganic arsenic concentrations as elevated as 169 parts per billion in rice items sold through Amazon, including their own house brands. That's 69% above the FDA's safety threshold for infant food. Whole Foods was purchased by Amazon for $13.7 billion in 2017. This is a trillion-dollar corporation retailing rice that tests among America's most contaminated. While promoting it as a healthier selection, the irony is painful. Customers spend premium amounts at Whole Foods, specifically avoiding toxins. Instead, they may be receiving higher contamination than shoppers at budget retailers. Number 6. Amazon Happy Belly Rice. Arriving at number 6 is Amazon's Happy Belly rice brand. Amazon doesn't merely own Whole Foods. They also retail their own Amazon Basics and Happy Belly branded rice items directly on their platform. These products are currently at the center of major legal proceedings. In May 2025, plaintiffs initiated a class action lawsuit against Amazon in federal court in Seattle. The lawsuit claims Amazon sold rice contaminated with arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury without disclosing the dangers to consumers. The case identifies 17 separate rice items sold through Amazon, according to the lawsuit. Independent examination commissioned by Healthy Babies Bright Futures discovered heavy metals in every rice item tested from Amazon. Some samples held arsenic concentrations as elevated as 149 parts per billion. That's nearly 15 times higher than the EPA's threshold of 10 parts per billion for drinking water. The lawsuit makes serious allegations. It claims Amazon either neglected to test these items for heavy metals or decided not to reveal the results despite maintaining complete control over the sale, marketing, and presentation of their products. Here's what makes this particularly disturbing. The products at issue include rice promoted to families with children. These are precisely the people most susceptible to heavy metal contamination. Children consume 2 to 3 times more rice per body weight than adults. Their developing brains are especially vulnerable to damage. Amazon's response? In July 2025, they submitted a motion to dismiss the lawsuit. They contended the presence of heavy metals in rice is a decades-old, well-known issue that was easy to discover. They also claimed protection under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which shields online platforms from liability. Essentially, Amazon's defense is, everyone knows rice has arsenic, so they shouldn't have to warn you. The lawsuit continues advancing with an amended complaint submitted in August 2025 containing new evidence from independent examination. Number 5. Walmart Great Value Rice. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Walmart's Great Value brand. Great Value is America's largest private label brand. It's retailed in over 4,700 Walmart locations across the country. Millions of families depend on it for affordable groceries, including rice. Consumer Reports examination discovered Great Value rice holds arsenic concentrations comparable to the national average for contaminated rice. Their products displayed readings similar to Uncle Ben's and other major brands at around 150 to 160 parts per billion total arsenic. But here's what makes Great Value especially concerning. Walmart targets budget-conscious families. These are frequently families with young children who consume more rice relative to their body weight than any other age category. They're also families who may not be able to afford lower arsenic substitutes like imported basmati or California cultivated rice. The FDA estimates rice contributes 55% of infant arsenic exposure from solid foods. For the family shopping at Walmart's budget prices, rice might be a daily staple, not an occasional side dish. Great Value rice is typically obtained from the southern United States. Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, and Missouri generate the majority of American rice. As we discussed, this region has the highest arsenic contamination due to historic pesticide application on cotton fields. Walmart is the world's largest company by revenue. They generated $648 billion in 2024. They possess the resources to test every batch of rice for heavy metals. They could clearly indicate the region of origin on every package. They could source from lower contamination regions. Instead, families on tight budgets continue purchasing rice that may expose their children to unnecessary health dangers. The people who can least afford healthcare costs are the ones most likely to be harmed. Number 4. Mahatma and Carolina rice. At number 4, we have Mahatma and Carolina rice, the flagship brands of Riviana Foods. Riviana is America's largest rice company. They're a subsidiary of Ebro Foods, a Spanish food conglomerate that's the global leader in rice production. Combined revenue exceeds $1.5 billion. Mahatma has been sold in America since 1932, Carolina Rice since 1927. These are brands your grandparents likely used. They're discovered in supermarkets coast to coast. In July 2025, a class action lawsuit was initiated against Riviana Foods, claiming their Mahatma Brown whole grain rice contains dangerous concentrations of arsenic and cadmium without adequate warning to consumers. According to the lawsuit, independent examination discovered Mahatma Brown rice contained 317 parts per billion of arsenic. Let me put that in perspective. The FDA's action level for infant rice cereal is 100 parts per billion. This product tested at more than 3 times that threshold. The examination also discovered 11.6 parts per billion of cadmium in the product. Cadmium is a recognized carcinogen linked to kidney disease, bone loss, and cardiovascular problems. FDA scientists estimate more than 12 million children ages 1 to 6 are exposed to cadmium in food at concentrations exceeding safety standards. Riviana obtains most of their rice from Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. These are the precise states with the highest arsenic contamination in America. Their rice comes from fields that once cultivated cotton and were treated with arsenic-based pesticides for decades. The lawsuit accuses Riviana of advertising their rice as wholesome, healthy, and America's favorite, while neglecting to warn consumers about toxic heavy metals. They promote their product to health-conscious shoppers without disclosing the potential dangers. This is a billion-dollar corporation owned by a multinational food giant. They have access to testing facilities and sourcing alternatives around the world. Yet, their flagship products test among the most contaminated available. Number 3. Store-brand cinnamon rice mixes. At number 3, we have store-brand rice mixes, especially those containing cinnamon. Wait, cinnamon? Yes, this entry is about a contamination crisis extending far beyond just rice itself. In October 2023, the FDA investigated Wanabana fruit puree pouches containing cinnamon after children in North Carolina developed elevated blood lead concentrations. What they discovered was horrifying. The cinnamon in these products contained lead at 2,270 to 5,110 parts per million. That's 25 to 55 times higher than the industry guideline of 2 parts per million. The contamination wasn't accidental. Investigators discovered evidence of economically motivated adulteration. Someone deliberately added lead chromate to the cinnamon to make it appear brighter and weigh more. By March 2024, the CDC reported 519 cases of food poisoning across 44 states, plus Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. The median age of victims was approximately 2 years old. Toddlers were being poisoned by products promoted as organic, additive-free, and kosher. The FDA has since issued public health alerts for cinnamon products from 18 different distributors, including brands sold at Dollar Tree and discount retailers. Many of these contaminated cinnamon products end up in store-brand rice mixes, yellow rice, and seasoned rice products. One product examined by Healthy Babies Bright Futures showed the extent of this problem. Dixie Lily's parboiled yellow rice with saffron contained lead concentrations of 36 parts per billion. That's 32 times higher than the average lead content in other rice samples. Both samples examined came from different production lots, months. Apart, suggesting an ongoing contamination issue, spices like saffron and cinnamon used in flavored rice products can be sources of additional heavy metal contamination beyond what's already in the rice itself. The FDA has identified 24 spice companies from 11 countries on import alerts for lead contamination. If you purchase seasoned rice mixes, especially from discount retailers, you could be receiving a double dose of toxins: arsenic from the rice plus lead from the spices. Number 2. Bin's Original Rice. Arriving at number 2 is Bin's Original, formerly recognized as Uncle Bin's. This is one of America's most recognizable rice brands. The company changed its name in 2020 after acknowledging the original branding perpetuated racial stereotypes. But they haven't changed where their rice comes from. Bin's Original is owned by Mars Incorporated, one of the world's largest privately held companies. Mars also owns M&M's, Snickers, Pedigree, and dozens of other brands. Their annual revenue exceeds $50 billion. Bin's Original Rice is cultivated in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. These are the states with the highest arsenic contamination anywhere on the planet. Research shows rice from this region contains nearly double the arsenic of California rice and up to 6 times more than rice from Egypt or India. Why is southern U.S. rice so contaminated? The history is damning. For over a century, farmers in the Cotton Belt used arsenic-based pesticides to control the boll weevil beetle. The poison accumulated in the soil. When cotton farming declined, much of that land was converted to rice paddies. Here's the truly insane part. When rice was first planted on these contaminated soils, the crops failed from arsenic poisoning. So, agricultural scientists developed arsenic-resistant rice varieties that could survive in toxic soil. The plants absorb the arsenic but don't die from it. Instead, the poison concentrates in the grain that ends up on your plate. Consumer Reports examination discovered Bin's Original Rice contained arsenic concentrations comparable to the highest in the southern region, at around 200 parts per billion total arsenic. Bin's Original products were included in the 2025 Healthy Babies Bright Futures investigation that discovered arsenic in 100% of rice examined. The CBS News report specifically identified Bin's alongside Trader Joe's and Goya as brands included in the contaminated samples. Mars Incorporated has the resources to source rice from anywhere in the world. They could use California rice, they could import from India or Thailand. Instead, they continue selling rice from America's most contaminated farmland. Number 1, generic unbranded rice. And the number 1 rice product requiring avoidance is generic unbranded rice, especially bulk rice sold at discount retailers, international markets, and warehouse clubs. Here's why this tops our list. When you purchase major brands, at least there's a company you can hold accountable. They have reputations to protect, they face lawsuits when products cause harm, they have quality control systems, even if those systems are inadequate. But generic rice, often there's zero traceability whatsoever, you don't know where it was cultivated, you don't know who processed it, you don't know if anyone ever examined it for heavy metals. The 2025 Healthy Babies Bright Futures report discovered the widest variation in contamination concentrations came from generic and store-brand products. Some samples examined relatively low, others examined off the charts. One sample of generic brown rice from a discount retailer examined at over 240 parts per billion total heavy metals. That's more than double the FDA's threshold for infant food. Another sample examined at 201 parts per billion arsenic alone. Generic rice is frequently obtained from wherever is cheapest. That usually means the southern United States, where contamination is highest, or it means international sources with minimal oversight where adulteration is common. Remember the cinnamon scandal? Products promoted at Dollar Tree as healthy alternatives turned out to contain industrial-grade lead. The same dangers exist for cheap rice products. Bulk rice sold at international markets can be especially risky. Some countries have zero regulations for arsenic in rice. Products that would be banned in the EU flow freely into American retailers. The families most likely to purchase generic rice are frequently the same families most at risk: low-income households with children, immigrant families for whom rice is a cultural staple eaten multiple times daily. These communities face the highest exposure. With the least information about the dangers, how to protect yourself, now that you know which products to avoid, let me share how to reduce your danger dramatically. First, select your rice wisely. Not all rice is equally contaminated. California cultivated rice, including sushi rice and Cal Rose varieties, examined lowest in heavy metals at around 65 parts per billion. Thai jasmine rice and Indian basmati also examined consistently lower than U.S. southern rice. Look for labels that specify California grown or show origin from Thailand or India. Avoid rice labeled simply grown in USA, which usually indicates the contaminated South Central states. Second, change how you prepare. Here's a game changer. Cooking rice like pasta can eliminate up to 60% of arsenic. Use 6 to 10 cups of water per cup of rice. Boil the rice and drain the excess water before serving. Pre-soaking rice for 30 minutes or overnight and then draining before cooking can eliminate even more arsenic. Rinsing alone doesn't work sufficiently, but soaking plus draining makes a real difference. Third, diversify your grains. The Healthy Babies Bright Futures study examined alternative grains like quinoa, barley, couscous, and farro. These contain 69% less total heavy metals than rice on average. They had 28 times less arsenic than rice. Consider serving quinoa or farro as side dishes instead of rice. Use barley in soups. Try couscous with stews. Every meal without. Rice reduces your cumulative exposure. Fourth, be especially cautious with children. If you have infants or toddlers, avoid rice cereal entirely. Use oat, barley, or multigrain infant cereals instead. At least 5 states have removed rice cereal from their WIC food assistance programs due to contamination concerns. Children consume 2 to 3 times more rice per body weight than adults. Their developing brains are far more vulnerable to heavy metal damage. What seems like a small amount of contamination can have lifelong consequences. Fifth, avoid processed rice products. Rice cakes, rice crackers, rice-based snacks, and foods sweetened with brown rice syrup often contain concentrated arsenic that can't be washed away. The processing actually increases certain toxic metals. Forms of arsenic, instant rice and ready-to-heat rice products, may carry additional dangers. High heat processing can create DMA, a form of arsenic that may be 3 times more toxic than standard inorganic arsenic. The rice industry doesn't want you knowing any of this. The USA Rice Federation continues claiming there's no public health safety issue. They've been stating this for over 25 years, while arsenic concentrations have remained unchanged. But the science is clear. Arsenic causes cancer. It damages developing brains. It contributes to heart disease and diabetes, and there is no safe level of exposure. The FDA has established a threshold of 100 parts per billion for infant rice cereal, but has established no threshold whatsoever for the rice that families consume every day. More than 1 in 4 rice products on store shelves exceed that infant food threshold right now. You deserve knowing what's in your food. Your children deserve protection, and the companies selling contaminated rice deserve being held accountable. If this video helped you, please share it with friends and family who consume rice. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming investigations into other foods hiding dangerous secrets. Stay aware, stay sharp, and protect your plate.